Hey guys, this is Dr. Brian Wolf with Wolf Physical Therapy. I got a question today from one of my favorite people, Robin Fortin, about shoulder pain and CrossFit. And I think this is a really cool way to introduce this topic, and then also to show some of the exercises I give people to improve some of their range of motion. So one of the things I think that happens with CrossFit and why I think that we lose particularly shoulder motion overhead is because we do a lot of overhead movements. So presses, jerks, when it's clean and jerks, snatches, squat snatch, that kind of stuff. Repetitive motion is always going to insult the neurological system a little bit, so that you're going to lose some of that motion overhead. And it's going to be small, but it's going to be, if you lose 10 degrees, and with a squat snatch you need almost hyperflexion, where you need almost 180 plus degrees to make up for it. What you're going to do is compensate in places like the thoracic extension, or you're going to create a hypermobility of your shoulder, which the neurological system doesn't like either, and then usually locks it down. So what it'll do is it'll tighten you up. So there's some ways to tease that out. Two is we also do a lot of pulling exercises. So whether it's pull-ups, whether it's rope climbs, whether it's rowing, we're stimulating the lats, and the lats do shoulder extension and medial rotation. So if something like that gets, I don't want to call it tight, but neurologically gets stimulated where it gets tight, it's going to limit overhead flexion and especially external rotation as well. So if we are causing chronic soreness in the lats, and we're causing, I don't want to call it chronic soreness, but if we're causing constant soreness in the lats and we're stimulating overhead, it mixes for a loss of flexion with shoulders. And so I see it repetitively in CrossFit athletes, and I think this is why it happens. There's other theories as to why it can happen, and I'd love to hear them if you want to leave comments below. But those are sort of my thoughts. But there are ways that we can tease it out and how we can regain that flexion so that you prevent injury. Because I think what happens is then we go to ask for that range of motion that we don't have, and that's when we cause shoulder pain. It doesn't necessarily have to correlate with a pathology like a rotator cuff repair, or a rotator cuff tear, or lateral tears, which does happen more commonly as we get older. So the aging athlete, the masters athlete in CrossFit, we got to worry about a little more than say the younger one. But at the same time, we're constantly looking at these different groups. So anyway, here are the two exercises that I've recently been playing around with that I love. And one thing that we can also work on from a shoulder flexion standpoint is thoracic extension. So if people are rounded or a little bit tighter, they're going to have a more limited ability to get shoulder flexion fully. So what we can do is actually straighten them up. Now, when you do a squat snatch, a full true squat snatch, you actually should have your ribs pulled down. They shouldn't be hyperextended in the thoracic spine. However, there is some thoracic extension that happens here when you catch something straight overhead into an overhead position, or with an overhead squat, or etc. So anyway, we still want to work on that thoracic extension, but at the same time, you're going to hear me say pull the ribs down, and that's because I don't want you to hyperextend from the thoracic spine and reteach your body that. So here's kind of what you're going to do is you're going to get in a door frame like this. And this is a little bit wider than normal, but you could use a regular door frame also. Your arms are on a 90-90 angle, and what you're going to do is you're going to stand up tall, and for about 3 to 5 seconds, pulsing, you're going to stretch your mid back out by working the door frame this direction. So just like this. And what I'm doing is I'll feel the stretch across my pec and chest and in my mid back and my thoracic spine. So there's a great exercise to working on that mobility. And then I'll reteach it. So the next exercise is actually to get in the door frame. And what you're going to do is you're going to take your arm, and as I'm in this flexion, I'm going to step up to the point where it's comfortable. So I'm not going so far, but I want to move just like this, and I'm going to reach my fingertips up towards the ceiling, and then I'm going to drag it back down. And then up towards the ceiling and back down. What I'm trying to do is, if you notice my shoulder blade, the reason I'm facing away from you here is, as I'm doing this motion, what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to take my shoulder blade and stick it towards the ceiling. So my whole shoulder blade complex, the whole shoulder itself, is going straight up towards the ceiling, and then I'm bringing it back down and up towards the ceiling and then back down. And what I'm working on is what's known as scapular humeral rhythm. And so the scapula and the shoulder all have to work as one, and this will actually allow you to move the scapula on the thorax, or where the ribs and the thoracic spine lie. So that mobility too will help you coordinate. And what happens is I have my athletes do this. So reach up towards the ceiling and then drag it back down, up towards the ceiling and then back down. Is ultimately allows for a quick freedom of motion and allows you to have more motion pretty much instantly. And that's a great thing to do before any overhead movement. If it's a day where you're going to be doing squat snatches, overhead squats, that's a really cool way you can prep with those two exercises to work on your thoracic mobility, work on your shoulder external rotation, and overhead movement. So, guys, if you have any questions or comments, please leave them below. I look forward to hearing from it. And if you have any questions, you can visit us on our website at wolfphysicaltherapy.com. Or if you're looking for any individual work in Fairfield County, please, our information, and you can book appointments and discovery visits on our website at wolfphysicaltherapy.com. Don't hesitate to reach out to us. Thanks.